Oh, you look handsome. Your hair's fine.
Yeah, no, doing pretty good over here. Doing pretty good over here. Fighting sounds like you already learned this lesson, but fighting this hairline can be a real bitch
Yeah,
sometimes.
I gave up the battle about 12 years ago.
Dude,
So
it is a battle. So it's funny that you called it that. Sometimes you win battles, sometimes they win battles.
absolutely. So how was Vegas?
Man, it was awesome. It was awesome. I don't know if you've ever heard of Don Costa. He's kind of like a big podcaster
Uh-huh.
in the community, but he's got that's he's got the best mastermind I've ever been to. You know, um, I just love going there. I'm not even an investor, and it's actually an investor only mastermind. But I own lead mining, and everyone's like, "Why are you here? Like, if you don't do real estate?" And I'm like, "Well, I work with 5,000 clients a year. The shit I learn from you guys makes me a better operator, and I get to help them." Because the other cool thing about an entrepreneur being in the real estate mastermind is I propose different solutions than what real estate investors see.
You're
They're
looking at a different perspective.
exactly. They only know houses and what other people know with houses. And I'm like, well, I ran restaurants for 13 years and I did this, so I have all this stuff. So it's really cool what Dom's created out there.
Good. I'm glad it was worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was actually just looking at your campaign stats right before we met. Some of them looks like they all did good. Um, some of them blew up with results. Some of them had less, but I'd say they were all pretty average. I'm gonna do a screen share here. Is that cool?
That's true. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, we followed up with these people, and most of them want market value. We're
Sure.
going to look at moving to some smaller markets beginning next week. Wanted to
Okay.
have this conversation with you to get some ideas and feedback before we send over new lists. So,
Yeah. And one thing I'm working on too, and let me know if this would help you. One of my best friends is a realtor. Okay. And you may know this already, but only other realtors can get referrals from realtors. And so, one thing I was thinking about doing was creating a process where if you get a retail lead, send it to us. We will get our realtor on the phone and then get it referred to a realtor in your market and get you paid out on the commission. That's one thing I'm kind of brainstorming with a close friend of mine who's a realtor because, retail leads are such a natural part of the game. And I'm trying to like figure out a solution like, hey, at least if you got them, maybe I can at least make your campaign break even,
all
you
right.
know, with like an assignment fee kind of thing. But yeah, let me know what you think about that because one of my best friends is a realtor, and I actually brought it up to him the other day, and he's like, I really like that idea.
Well, I mean, it's a great idea simply because you've already spent the money getting the lead. You might as well
Right.
monetize it some way.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to charge people to do that. If anything, what I would probably do is I think by law we get 25% of the commission. So I think my vision would be the client gets half, and then we get half. So you guys get 12.5%, we get 12.5%. We don't charge anything. Our realtor will call the lead, get them listing appointment ready, and then call a realtor in their market, kind of thing. And then, of course, my realtor friend, he's super pumped about this. What a great way for him to drum up easy business too. But yeah, so I think with your feedback, I'll probably facilitate that a little bit faster and get those. And like I said, I'm one of those providers that whenever my customers have a recurring issue, I want to solve for that. you
Right.
know,
Absolutely.
you know. But yeah, so into these campaigns, this first one looks like it was Tennessee.
Yes.
Um, this one did really well. We got 9 leads on 2,000 dials, which is pretty good. We averaged over 2 leads per 500 dials, which is awesome. And this is houses too.
No, this is just land.
This is land. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense because those texting leads were through the roof. Um, so those results are good. 2.7 leads per 500 dials, which is good. And then the texting was bananas. 36 leads on 1,463 text messages. And I know if I'm not mistaken, those texting leads, they're all over the spectrum, right? I mean, they're like super hot, super cold. They're really kind of everything.
Right.
Um, And then that was Tennessee. And then the next one is, oh, I'm sorry. So this one was Franklin, Greenville, Chapel Hill, Lewisburg. The next one is Columbia, Santa Fe, Williamsport, and Mount Pleasant. This one almost got the same amount of leads and half the dials on the dialing side. So this one's actually performing way better on the cold calling side. I don't see any texting stats for this one. Let me message my team real quick about that.
Okay.
Because I do see you have a bunch of texting leads, texting services left on the other page. Oh, Brenzy's already typing. She's on it. She's in this chat with us. I got it, Brenzy. Thank you so much. Unless you're talking about something else in this chat. So I'm going to find out from them. Did we text them and the numbers just aren't on the sheet? Or did we not text them? And that's why the numbers aren't on the sheet. So I'll find out from my team here soon. We don't have texting stats, but the cold calling stats are strong, almost at twice the rate. On this one, you're averaging over 3.5 leads per 500 dials. And on the Greenville one, you were averaging 2.7 leads per 500 dials. So almost 50% better. Lead flow on the dialing part of the campaign, and then I'll find out about text. And then
we're our target is anything over 2, right?
2 acres.
No, two leads per 500 dials.
That is correct. Yeah. And then with land, we should expect it to be higher, but our target as a minimum is anything over 2, just like as like a personal gauge. With land, I think 3 to 4 shouldn't be too rare, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean? Okay. Depending on the market. So, and then 2 should be your minimum with land for sure. 2 with houses, I consider good, right? That's the difference, right? So 2 with houses, I consider good. 3 to 4 with land, I consider good, right? So it's like, I do expect land to do 50 to 100% better than houses does, like on average, is my personal rule of thumb. Okay. And then here's the final one. This is Tennessee again, Bandera, Crystal Beach, Port Bolivar. This seems like we're getting closer to the water, Canyon Lake, right? So a lot of things more water than it sounds like. And then this one had a lot of pickups. So we get 2,000 dials, 9 leads, but 10.5% of the people answered the phone, which is really good. So let me check the other 2. I got them right here. Oh, this one was 10.34 and this one was 9.54. So this one was your best, but your second best was just barely right below it at 10.34. So these other 2 ones also had a higher contact rate too.
And that's kind of what we're looking for, is a 10% contact rate.
Yeah. So a good rule of thumb here is anything below 8 stinks. Okay.
Okay.
Not 8 to 11. Okay, 8 is decent. 9 to 11 is good. Over 11 is great, is what I would consider. Even your 9 isn't bad by any means.
Okay.
But yeah, that will kind of give you. And I'm actually glad we're covering this because you know what my epiphany was last week, Jerry? I gotta stop keeping these stats in my head. One thing I want to do is I want to start sending my clients more detailed stats daily. And then in that, I want to send them how to read them exactly like we're covering right now. Here's like, message me if you're below 8% contact rate, right? Message
Absolutely.
Me, because
a video of you walking through this would be invaluable.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And hell, I might even use this one to be honest, because we've been super detailed on it. But I think that's a good lesson for me. Let me write that down because I do need to do a walkthrough. Let me tell you your minimum KPI expectations when hiring lead mining. I think is a great point. And so this one did good, 10.5%, 9 leads. So we were only at 2.25 per 500. So it was quote unquote, I think like your lowest. I think it matched it with this one though. Okay, so I have to figure out the math here. Some math must be wrong here. Let me just do the math myself. Yeah, it's 2.25. Okay, is actually what these are. And then the text messaging did overperform, which is good. The text messaging, 1,200 texts, 124 people responded, which is good, 10%. And to give you some numbers there, texting can do good no matter what the response rate is. But what I like to see is between a 10 and 15% response rate. Sometimes I'll see 15%, and I just think that's a good indicator in general. At least people are responding. But I will say that I haven't really seen as much as a lead difference with texting, right? So like I've seen people with an 8% response rate get just as many leads as someone with the 15%, is what I'm saying. And that's probably the beauty of texting. Everyone's technically reading it, technically.
Right.
You know what I mean? So maybe that's the difference there. But you got 12 leads there, which is great. I always say, as an easy rule of thumb, if you're averaging 1 lead per 100 anything, calls or texts, you're killing it, right? One per 100 texts and 1 per 100 calls, you could probably guarantee you're in the top 10 percentile of all of our campaigns if you see that, right? So the texting did great. And texting really, I need to find out these numbers for you. But texting really blew them up out of the water on these campaigns, which is kind of normal. I find that the calling, I'll ask your feedback, and it's like I find that the calling leads are better and the texting leads are often bullshit, but there's still leads in there, but you're probably deleting 40% of your texting leads just from reading the notes, right? And I technically don't recommend deleting any cold calling leads until you talk to them, right? I think that's one of the differences between the two. What have you seen working the leads or anything like that?
Well, couple things. I certainly agree that the cold called leads are better. There's a lot more information in there. You get a chance um, to kind of hear their perspective. Yeah, my husband and I were going to build out there, but our grandchildren moved away and he passed away, and I don't know what to do with it, and so we're pushing down that road. So I agree with you. I think the cold calling leads are better. The volume of
The texting.
obviously of the SMS is much higher, but
It's
again,
nice.
I also agree with you that the quality is lower. I worked with Frenny. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, Fenny. Yeah.
Finney. I keep wanting to put an R in there for some reason. Finney. And I said, because all we were getting was, you have this land, you want to sell it, what's your email address? And so I said, can we have more of a conversation with them over text, and then so that we can then call them?
Yeah.
And she said, well, I can ask them up to 2 more questions. And so
Okay.
I said, okay, well then ask them what they want for it and why they're thinking about selling. And that's where we started getting some of
Right.
the stories. And so that's what
Right.
one of the things I wanted to visit with you about was, how can we improve the quality of our SMS questions and thus responses, and how do you view that process?
Yeah. So I like that you brought that up. We do have a script that we use for land. We use it rarely. Because the reason why the current one is so direct is mostly, I'm not saying you're doing anything different or wrong, but most land people, they want it to be that direct. You get an email, I'll figure it out, right? But I agree with you. So our old land script actually asks like 4 questions
Okay.
to the seller. And I'll have Brenzy send you a copy of that. Brenzy, I believe that's called the SMS land script for relationship building, right? And I think that's kind of more what you're saying. How do we get in their world a little bit more rather than
Absolutely.
transactional text that says check your email in 48 hours, basically, you
Right.
know. And just so you know, I agree with your approach. I had a couple land guys say they want the more direct one, so we kind of pivoted to that. But no, I do agree with your approach more. Get more in their world. So take a look at that script, and you can edit it completely too. So we will send up to 2 more text messages, and generally I think it's okay for us to ask 2 questions per text that we send. Okay.
Okay.
So, if you look at those, you might go, hey, this is great. This is enough info. I'm great. Or, hey, and then you can just change it using that liberty. And then,
Okay.
and then we will implement that on your campaign moving forward.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. I will look forward to that later today then.
Awesome. Rock and roll, Jerry. Anything else I could direct for you?
No, sir. I think that's good. One of the things we are working on is some automations. If we created an automation where the texters could fill out like a web form as they go, or they could cut and paste into a web form, or something like
You can do
that, so
that.
that it will load automatically. We could do that.
We could do that. Go ahead. And so the way it works is with cold calling, we don't do web forms. We do something. We can either keep up the emails or we can do something called web hooks, which are fully automated. Okay.
Okay.
So if your current CRM can do web hooks, we can set up that for you on the cold calling side too, just so you know. And then on the text messaging side, um, we can do web forms. So that web form, just send it to us. I recommend keeping it simple: name, address, phone number, notes for the
Okay.
SMS web form. So if you could just keep it that simple for me, and then we will start sending your leads through that.
Okay. Name, address, notes, and what was the fourth one?
Phone number,
Phone number. Yeah, that helps, doesn't it?
yeah, not the hard way.
All right. Nicholas, thank you very much.
Man, my pleasure. Rock and roll, Jerry. Have a great week.
You too. Bye bye.